May we test our buzzers?
You certainly may.
Is that turned up all the way?
He likes the volume up.
It sounded loud, but
That's softer.
there we
That's
go.
good. I like it.
Yeah, see, like I don't like the Goldilocks. I like Papa Bear.
Okay.
Yeah, this is allows as a lot
Is
of.
that one recorded? I hope that one
Okay.
recorded.
Are you recording?
Yeah.
I'll cut this out. Okay.
Oh.
Okay, that's done, Jerry.
Oh, yeah, don't worry
Questions
about
ready?
Yeah.
Yes. Okay, here we go. Toss it one. This creature's gift titles Erica Wagner's book about the book on the biographical background of a poet's final collection. A poem about this animal describes proudly wafting you to the ballroom of broken glass on bleeding feet, and tells the adversary as you flew they jammed all your wavelengths. That poem, partially titled for this animal, closes with the image of an exploded dong in your fist that Monday and begins, your moon was full of women. William Davis argued that a second poem title for this creature actually references God's lioness rather than the Shakespearean character. That poem titled for this creature has a speaker who tells wife Godiva that I unpeel before stating that the child's cry melts in the wall. A poem from Birthday Letters is about a night ride on this animal, who also titles a poem in which the speaker flies into the red eye, the cauldron of morning. Daddy and Lady Lazarus are both... Ariel?
What? Okay. Okay. That's only one.
Yep, sorry.
It's not. Whatever.
The name. Anyway, here's the box. This figure is the primary subject of 4 paintings, one of which depicts him astride a blue pipe that is east from the sea. 10 points each. Name this figure shown before a muscular white man pointing to the viewer's left. In the painting, the number of the beast is 666.
I have no idea what's going on. Is it like that's sure that makes sense. I guess say the
Nah, it's the Great Red Dragon. This English artist painted the Great Red Dragon series. He invented a form of relief etching using copper plates and asked it to produce illustration for his poems, which include The Marriage of Heaven and Hell. Blake. 2 of Blake's Great Red Dragon paintings depict the dragon with this angelic figure with golden wings.
oh shoot. It's there's like Albion. There's like a few people in this mythos. Should I go there? Albion.
It's the woman clothed in the sun.
Okay.
You got 10. Toss of 2. This compound is metabolized by an enzyme containing oxygen-holding peroxyl hold, and that oxidase oddly does not require a metal ion or cofactor to function. Lasudurad inhibits a transporter of this molecule. This compound is transported by the glucose transporter SLC2A9. Unlike most other mammals, primates lack an enzyme that oxidizes this compound to form the more soluble allantoin. This compound builds up as a result of defective HPRT gene, which causes most of the symptoms of Lesch-Nyhan syndrome. Serum levels of this compound are lowered by febuxostat and allopurinol, both of which are xanthine oxidase inhibitors. The ball of the foot is a complication for the deposit of uric acid. Yeah.
That's what galleries. Yeah.
Here's your bonus. This condition is considered totalis when it is accompanied with dextrocardia, 10 points each. Name this condition in which the organs develop in mirror positions from their normal positions. We got It's called situs inversus. Situs inversus can be visualized as the organs being flipped over this anatomical plane that splits the body into left and right halves. Sagittal. I don't know. Sagittal. Yeah. Because cilia are necessary for determining the position of organs in the embryo, but 50% of individuals with this ciliopath develop situs inversus. Individuals who suffer chronic sinusitis, bronchiectasis, and situs inversus from this condition are said to have Cardiganer syndrome. Or Cardiganer syndrome. Yes. Johnson syndrome. It's primary ciliary dyskinesia, or PCD. Okay. That's awesome. That was 10 points for you, and toss it for you. During a brief 3/8 waltz in the second movement of this piece, the first clarinet and bassoon play a variation of the opening theme of the first movement, while the soloist supports them with persistent 16th note accompaniment. The cadenza of this piece's first movement is briefly interrupted by a variation of the main theme, which is passed from flute to oboe to clarinet and finally to horn. The composer wrote 2 versions of that cadenza for this piece, although the original heavier version is now...
All right. Rachmaninoff's 3rd piano concerto.
That's right.
Good job.
Here's your bonus. This work defines the title person as one who leaves behind him all his ancient prejudices and manners in its section of What is an American for 10 points each. In this work by Hector St. Jean de Crevecoeur, a set of epistles by the title character James, who in this last entry fights to flee to an Indian settlement to escape the Revolutionary War.
It's like letters from an American farmer. Oh, that exists. That's one.
Yes, that one.
Letters from an American farmer.
That's right.
Yeah.
A sequence of letters praises the peaceful way of life of members of this sect on Nantucket. Much of the autobiography of Benjamin Franklin set in the city founded as a safe haven for this Christian sect.
Nantucket, though, is what they say.
Strange, but Ben Quakers are in Pennsylvania. Yeah, I thought they were mostly.
Yeah.
But they're still Quakers.
Yeah.
Yeah.
One of the letters describes a Russian gentleman's visit to a Quaker botanist with his surname. That botanist's son William wrote a book of travels whose lush description of southern locales like the Isle of Palms influenced Felicia Hammond's The Isle of Founds and Samuel Taylor Coleridge's Rule of Time.
Okay, so William's
Last name, like it's probably something very colonial.
I don't know, but I'm humble.
No, it's a dude named Bartram.
Great. It's a nice last name.
You got 20. Toss a 4. One king of this ancient region was murdered by two brothers who were students of Plato and were named Python and Heracles. Another king of this region constructed an ornate tomb at his namesake capital of Suthopolis. Several unified tribes in this region, known as the Odrysian Kingdom, were
Great.
Good job.
Good thing I'm negative historiture, otherwise I
Here's your bonus. On this feast day, group vestments are allowed in Spain and former Spanish territories, but only in those places. Recognizing that the event commemorated is considered the national patroness of. Sorry, the way that this is written doesn't make sense, but it seems to be that this feast day is about the national patroness of Spain, or somehow it's like her feast day, possibly. 10 points each, anyway. Name this penultimate holy day of obligation in the modern Catholic Church, a feast that falls on December 8th.
So December 8th.
Not Advent, that's going on.
It could be Epiphany, but
No, Epiphany's post-Christmas.
Oh, right, of course.
So Advent? I don't know.
Advent.
No, it's Immaculate Conception.
Oh.
It's the Immaculate Conception. The Feast of the Immaculate Conception is one of the most important feasts celebrating this woman. Her life is also celebrated
Mary.
the Feast of the Assumption and the Feast
Mary.
of the Annunciation.
Mary.
The Immaculate Conception was declared patroness of Spain. How is that possible?
That's like a thing, I'm fairly
Okay.
sure, yeah. It's
Maybe I
weird.
just don't understand something about what these references are. Was declared patroness of Spain in 1760, resulting in conflict between followers of Teresa of Avila and followers of this legendary incarnation of St. James, who supposedly helped the Spaniards win the likely and honorable battle of
Yeah.
Platnico.
Yeah,
Okay.
it's his
St.
name,
James
Joss.
Matamoros. Yeah, St. James Matamoros. Yeah,
Okay.
St. James Matamoros.
Yeah.
We get 20.
How can you name an event to be a patroness?
I don't
It's
understand
weird. The
that
Catholics
either.
are fucked up. Just don't question it.
Which is why I paused to try to make sense of what was going on there, but
Okay.
so it goes. Toss a five. One of this philosopher's theories is the third of three apparently incompatible metaethical ideas defended in The Moral Problem, a book by his proponent Michael Smith. This thinker's positions are held to be compatible with care ethics by Annette Bayer, who called him the woman's moral theorist. This philosopher's idea that the mind has a great propensity to spread itself on external objects is dubbed projectivism, and taken as a precursor to the non-cognitivist theory of quasi-realism by a proponent of this thinker, Simon Blackburn. This author opposed ethical rationalism by arguing that moral distinctions are derived not from reason but from sentiment in Book 3 of one of his works, in which he also pointed out that normative claims can be derived from facts.
Hume. That's the one. Because Blackburn's my favorite Hume scholar. I just like.
Here's your bonus.
Good.
This man's son wrote a memoir about this man's death titled When Grandpa Had Daddy Shot, for 10 points each. Named the son-in-law of Benito Mussolini, who also served as his foreign minister. This man was executed on Mussolini's orders after Mussolini was freed in the Gran Sasso raid.
Yeah, I don't know who this is. It's not Vittorio, what's his face?
How do you pay that?
Say some Italian name.
Yeah.
We.
It's Galeazzo Ciano.
Okay.
In 1935, Ciano volunteered as a bomber squadron commander during Italy's invasion of this nation, against which he fought two Abyssinian wars, the first of which included the Battle of Adwa.
Ethiopia. It's almost like you said Abyssinia. Ethiopia.
Ciano's diary was a primary source in fascist Italy for the rise and fall of the Third Reich, a history book by this American war correspondent who served as one of Murrow's boys on CBS Radio.
Cornelius.
I used to have this.
I own this book. I didn't know.
I also,
West.
it's Williamshire.
Yeah, that's
Yeah.
important.
That's really famous.
I
Yes.
own that book too.
You got 10. Alright. Just, 6. A type of galaxy named for extreme levels in one form of this property is commonly found around redshift z equals 1. The excess of this property is the difference between the intrinsic and observed values due to extinction by dust and gas. Different types of this property lend their names to a cloud, sequence, and valley on a diagram of galaxies that plots this property against luminosity or absolute magnitude. The Johnson-Morgan system is found in color. That's right.
Yes,
I was
just get
waiting
it.
on that. I stuck. I forgot to see it. That's
Here's your bonus. A poem beginning, "We rest, a dream has power to poison sleep," is excerpted in a chapter of Frankenstein set on a glacier of this landmark. FYT. Name this geographical landmark. A Percy Bysshe Shelley poem titled For It opens by considering the everlasting universe of things that flows through the mind. Yeah. The aforementioned Percy Shelley poem that Mary Shelley used in Frankenstein was published with this title. The second Shelley poem with this title consists of 3 numbered rhyming stanzas and opens, "The flower that smiles today, tomorrow dies."
This title. It's probably like a pretty generic title, I'm guessing. I don't know what's going on actually. So,
Yeah.
him.
Mutability.
Oh,
Another romantic poem on the theme of mutability is a sonnet of the same name by this author, whose other sonnets include "The world is too much with us."
what's with it?
20 points. Stats of 7. A paper by this economist was criticized by Claude de Aspremont, Jean Gabrevich, and Jacques Fies, who argued for the existence of an equilibrium that was the opposite of the one this man predicted in his namesake model. This man names the rule holding that changes in net price per unit time when extracting a non-renewable resource over time should equal to the discount rate. A rule made for this man results from applying the envelope theorem to a firm's supply function and holding that the supply function is equal to the derivative of the profit function with respect to price. That lemma means
Hoteling?
Good job. I was like, is this hoteling? Because Kyle getting excited.
This publication was founded by a man who, during his Trotskyite phase, had established the Marxist Quarterly. Named this magazine co-founded by James Burnham. Its first issue described as a publication that stands with world history.
Oh, I'm going stuff in
National Review.
Yeah.
In this book, James Burnham argued that state bureaucracy would exert an ever-increasing level of control over the economy. The title event of this book would come about due to a separation between control and ownership.
Something.
Let's say like the next stage, like something like
The third wave.
Yeah, it's the next stage.
We're on the right track. It's the managerial revolution.
That's a thing.
This man summarized the thesis of the managerial revolution as capitalism is disappearing, but socialism is not replacing it. His own investigations into socialism appear in The Road to Wicked Fear.
That's
Oh,
the Orwell.
that Mr. Orwell.
20 points. Toss of 8. According to one account, a trumpeter insultingly played the folk song "Jones' Placket is Torn" at this event. After this event, the HMS Loyal London was renamed to just London because the City of London refused to pay for its reconstruction. A scapegoat for this event, who wasted his time safeguarding scale ship models instead of making preparations, was named Peter Pett. The victorious side of this battle refrained from looting as a way of showing that they were above the perpetrators of Holmes' bonfire. During this battle, which was reported by
So it's great on the Medway.
Good job.
Good job, dude.
James, let's see, James.
That's 10. Thank you. Here's your bonus. This scientist named an apparatus containing ports connecting to a vacuum and a source of inert gas using air-free techniques to template teach. Named this scientist whose investigation of organomagnesium reagents found that they existed in the namesake equilibrium in which their alkyl groups and halides exchange.
Schlein.
Yeah.
Yes.
Wilhelm Schlenk was a student of this chemist who described the formation of an ester from an alcohol and carboxylic acid, and who developed a method of visualizing carbohydrates as horizontal and vertical lines.
Yeah, it was a fish fitter.
Yeah. Fisher's work with carbohydrates included his development of a technique that formed this class of carbohydrates when reacting a sugar with excess phenyl-hydrazine in order to analyze carbohydrates that differ by 1 chiral carbon.
Probably had a good run.
What do you got? All right, these are called osazones.
Fantastic.
I suppose so, whatever.
Yeah,
That might well be. We got topic 9. A book called Freedom to Fail argues that this man's thinking evinces an errancy view that resulted from an anarchic freedom of thought. In a 1966 interview that was published a decade later, this man explained his remarks contrasting fishing for big catches in the murky waters of valleys and holes with an inner truth and greatness of a movement that married modern human beings to planetarily determined technology. I go. Yeah.
Oh.
Your bonus. Musbat Eter and 2 of his accomplices were convicted of terrorism and murder for their role in this event 15 years after it occurred. Identify this event in which 3 people were killed and over 200 injured. Ronald Reagan ordered the Operation El Dorado Canyon airstrikes in retaliation for this event.
Oh. Yeah. Oh, sure.
Berlin discotheque bombing.
Yes. In 2008, this country, which was targeted by Operation El Dorado Canyon, paid $1.5 billion into a compensation fund for the victims of the Lafayette discotheque bombing and the Walker v. bombing. Libya. Yeah. This compound on the outskirts of Tripoli was the primary target of Operation El Dorado Canyon. Until 2011, this compound housed the sculpture Fist Crushing a U.S. fighter plane to commemorate the bombing.
Triple airport.
That's called the Bob Ali's Museum. You guys 20 points.
Good.
Toss of 10. The best known of the Elichia ballades written by this author begins, Alone I am and alone I wish to be. This author featured the Humane and Sybil in both a dream allegory about the path of long study and a work presented as a letter from Athea to Hector. Early in the book by this author, the protagonist puts down a copy of Matthiolus' Lamentations in despair and is shown a jeweled mirror that allows people to see themselves as they truly are. A letter that this author wrote to Jean de Montreuil to attack the immorality of a Jean de Meun poem kicked off the so-called Quarrel of the Roses.
Speaking of sun,
Oh, that's so true.
that's for saying that the Romance of the Rose is misogynistic. Which it is.
It is. She was right.
Correct, and here's your bonus. In the prologue to this opera, 2 pieces of entertainment are ordered to be performed simultaneously to leave time for fireworks. And we teach in this opera that juxtaposes the meaning that the plot with comic commentary by a burlesque troupe, climaxing Zurganeta's aria Grossmacher Princess.
Yes, Ariadne Naxos.
Ariadne Naxos was created by the German composer who also wrote Salome. He returned to opera with an opera format in Casuccio.
Strauss, and now we're going to get screwed.
Among the most acclaimed interpreters of the role of Ariadne is this African-American dramatic soprano. She also made a heralded recording of Strauss's 4 last songs, performing with Kurt Maser and the Leipzig Gewandhaus.
Not that, it's Jesse Norman, right?
Oh, yeah.
Jesse Norman?
That's very
Yeah. She has a good.
Yeah, Kathleen Battle plays Servanetta, not Ariadne.
Okay, that was 10, so let's do a score.
I have a score of 180 for Chicago A, 100 for Berkeley B. That's what I have.
Okay, yeah, keep going.
Keep going.
Task 11. 2 answers required.
Oh boy.
Historical attempts to differentiate these groups include the married film producers Lila Roosevelt and Armand Gunin making a documentary suggesting that one of these groups descended from Hungarian invaders. Political scientists Christian Davenport and Alan Stam described an attempt in the 1920s and 30s to distinguish these groups, issue identity cards, and justify the decision to create a power structure that privileged the
It was. Sorry, I just so.
There you go. Here's your bonus. In 1811, this man created the flag of Argentina while leading the military campaigns like the Cucuay, Exodus, and the Battle of Salta, after having earlier led the Paraguay campaign. For example, teach named this economist and lawyer who was the liberator of Argentina and commanded its armies prior to Jose de San Martin. He also led a campaign to Europe with Bernardino Rivadavia to try to gain Argentina independence.
Oh, okay, sure.
Did you come on?
No, it's Manuel Belgrano. At the Congress of Tucumán, Belgrano formulated the 1816 plan that proposed to crown a ruler of Argentina with blood ties to this civilization, whose rulers included Juan Anton. Yeah. During his invasion of Upper Peru, Belgrano set up his auxiliary base in this city. The Real Situado was an annual payment of silver from the rich mines of this city, where Cerro Rico was discovered in 1545 by native Quechua Indians. That's right.
Yeah.
Here is toss of 12. In a novel set in this country, a woman watches 3 turtles disappear into the water at the exact time that her son is killed abroad. In that novel set in this country, Felicia is unable to see the 3 ghost children who haunt her house at Small Garden. This country is the setting of Maria Dermuth's The 10,000 Things, and of a novel that ends with the underage protagonist's marriage being declared illegitimate and his wife being exiled to Europe. A student falls in love with Annalise, the daughter of a concubine, in a novel written in this country that the author developed orally at an island prison camp. That author from this country praised a novel set in it, in which the coffee broker Dry Stubble received a manuscript.
Okay, so second, it's Indonesia.
That's right.
Good. That made it two.
Yeah.
Good job.
Big thing.
I guess we're doing some Promodia stuff elsewhere that I know nothing about. Guess we're doing some
Yeah.
Promodia stuff elsewhere that I know nothing about.
Nice.
Guess I should learn Promodia stuff. That's an
And remember how, like, I wrote a question that was similar to that, like the answer was the same, and people like mocked me.
Well, it was 7 years ago. You were ahead of your time.
There we go. I'm vindicated now. Here's your bonus. A bombing campaign in the city was used as leverage for its country to rejoin the IMF after the destruction of bridges rendered a major waterway impassable. Can't wait to teach. Named as Balkan City, it was devastated by a 1999 NATO bombing campaign that destroyed 3 bridges over the Danube. Its name, which literally translates to new plant, denotes a sapling.
Huh, so this is something hard,
Not
right?
so Benica.
It's not just like Sarajevo or something like
I don't
that.
know. Yeah.
Oh, it's something hard. Sarajevo.
It's Novi Sad.
Oh,
And
Novi, yeah.
More like Queen's Garden, probably. Novi Sad is the second most populous city in this modern-day country, whose first president was Slobodan Milosevic.
Serbia, right?
Serbia.
The Novi Sad bombing campaign also destroyed Novi Sad's facility of this type, resulting in an environmental catastrophe. The Valero Corporation operates 13 of these facilities in the U.S.
What we call it environmental.
Also maybe an oil refinery because Valero's an oil country.
Okay, sure. Let's
Oil
go.
refinery.
Yeah,
Good job. Good job.
So you get
Yep.
Here is Task 13. The first exhibition of this painting inspired a parody one-act burlesque about a mother who finds it unsuitable for her daughter's innocent eyes. A leaflet for the exhibition of this painting, which marked the first notable solo exhibition in French history, cited Zeus's and Benjamin West to defend the choice to charge an entry fee. Hubertus Cole argues that this painting's nudity and static frieze-like composition, as seen in the spear balanced slightly on one of those central fingertips, represents a shift in interest from Roman to Greek art. A wall of spears separates this work's foreground from its background, where a Bastille-like fortress moves to the left. This painting was first displayed in the Louvre at eye level with a giant mirror on the opposite wall. This companion piece to Leonidas at the model shows children crawling on the ground beneath the white-clad Versilia.
It's a rape of Savannah woman.
No.
Who stops Romulus and Tedius from fighting each other. For 10 points, gave this painting of a battle scene related by Jacques David.
Intervention of the Savine women.
That's right.
Yeah.
So I was sitting on that right now about art.
No, yeah.
Okay, dude.
We listened to me think
We
couldn't
analyzed
figure out
that
what
one.
you wrote.
Right after that.
Here's your bonus. In his 7-part essay, The Curtain, this author claimed that Cervantes was the first writer to tear through the veil of pre-interpretation to reveal life's prose. For 10 points each, name this author the critical work Testament to Trade, whose book, The Art of the Novel, discusses how authors like Tony Roth, Robert Musil, and Vito Gombrich address the terminal paradoxes of modernity.
So it's someone after that.
Yeah.
So maybe Rocria had something. No, he doesn't have that. I made that up.
You got
Rocria.
It's non-Kundera.
Kundera.
In Testament to Trade, Kundera criticizes the English Max Broad critic of this author. Willa and Edmund Muir used the phrase gigantic insect to translate the word Ungeziefer in one of his novellas.
Topic.
Yeah. In The Art of the Novel includes the interview Kundera did with this magazine's Art of Fiction series. This magazine set forth in the city where Kundera lives and set his novel at the festival of its events.
Parasite.
Good job. Sorry.
I mean, we would have never done that.
Here's Task 14. These systems can be simplified by using an effective potential equal to the gravitational potential plus a term proportional to the quantity A minus B cosine theta squared all over sine squared theta, where A and B are 2 constants of the motion. Felix Klein and Arnold Sommerfeld collaborated on a 4-volume set of lecture notes titled The Theory of These Systems. Systems of this type partially filled with liquid can become unstable if they make small deviations from their sleeping position. The third integrable type system of this type to be discovered was founded by Sofia Kovalevskaya and has 2 of the principal moments of inertia equal to twice the third. The downward pull of gravity on these systems induces a torque that causes precession and rotation of their rotational axes, and sliding friction can cause the tip kind to flip upside down. For 10 points on these rigid bodies that appear to defy gravity by balancing on their tips as they
Yeah.
I do.
Oh, you can? Fuck, sorry. I knew it was gyroscopes. I was trying to figure out what things
They're
this were.
tops.
Of all
You can take
things.
gyroscopes though? Fuck.
I mean, like, top is like a technical term.
Okay, that actually, actually,
You could do scrapping. I couldn't figure out.
Here's your bonus. Where was I? Here we go. For each pair of distinct points in this type of topological space, there exist respective neighborhoods of those points that are disjoint. For example, name this type of topological space, sometimes called a separated space or T2 space. All metric spaces are this type of space.
So that's an image space.
No, this is a Hausdorff space. Every compact subset of a Hausdorff space has this property. A subset of a topological space has this property if and only if it contains all of its limited points. The phrase sets are not doors is often used to describe how a set can have this property and open this simultaneously.
Close.
Yeah. The T2.5 space is named for this man, whose namesake lemma is used to prove the Tita extension theorem. His metrization theorem states that every regular space with a countable basis is metrizable.
Hilbert.
It's probably Eurison.
Yeah,
That's 10. Here is toss of 15. James Frazier's commentary on Pausanias states that this place takes its name from the word pasture, which may explain why Lucian's Dialogues of the Gods identified it as the place where Hermes slew Argus Canopus. After the Delphic oracle told Hesiod to avoid this place, he was killed in a low-creating temple dedicated to an aspect of Zeus named for this place. Judges had a set of events held in this place. That is not right.
Okay, go.
Dressed in black robes to signal mourning for a figure renamed Archimorus, or beginner of doom, after his death. That child of a king of this place, Lycurgus, was killed by a serpent while lying on a bed of wild celery, where his nurse Hypsipyle had left him to provide water to the seven against thieves. A creature named for this place lived in a double-mouthed cave on Mount Tratos. A resident of this place named Malorcus befriended a hero who came to slay that creature, which was accomplished by strangulation. Nemor's name was home of a lion with impenetrable skin that was killed by Heracles, his first lady.
Don't want to fuck that up and say
Yeah.
Yeah. I figured the place is me.
Here's the bonus. John Dunstable and Lionel Power established the standard practice of writing these pieces as coherent, complete works. For now, we teach. Name these compositions that set a group of liturgical texts, including the Kyrie and Credo, to music.
Yeah, just masses. Oh, you meant curate. Yeah, okay, masses.
Yeah. The first standalone setting of the Mass Ordinary is generally considered to be La Messe de Notre Dame by this French composer of the 14th century. His other compositions include secular songs such as Douce Dame Jolie. Yeah. Douce Dame Jolie is in this French song form consisting of three stanzas, each preceded and followed by a refrain. Along with the ballade and rondeau, it is one of the
Virulais. That's the only other one. Virulais.
Good.
What a boy.
Well, I have to know that one's pretty good. So. Unhated, possibly.
Here's how
Do we have a score check?
You do have to know the three core things.
280 for Chicago A, 140 for Berkeley B. That's what I got.
I mean, at one point, I had to be able to tell the party.
Here, there are 5 tosses for me.
Okay.
Here we go.
Yeah.
In an effect named for Enricothermy, this phenomenon occurs due to mixing between vibrational modes of identical symmetries and vibrational spectroscopy. This phenomenon is the principle behind a form of Raman spec that enhances signal by tuning a laser frequency to near that of an electronic transition. This phenomenon can enhance Raman signal by up to each of the 4 enhancement per molecules absorbed onto nanoparticles or rough metal surfaces. This phenomenon can be used to analyze the binding of molecules to functionalize gold or silver surfaces and is responsible for the effectiveness of SIRS. When a microwave matches the energy of a transition created due to Zeeman splitting, this phenomenon occurs, resulting in an ESR signal. Endpoints named this phenomenon in which an oscillating system increases in amplitude when driven at a certain
Resonance.
That's right.
We are here!
Here's your bonus. The debate between these two thinkers on ontology concerned one's distinction between internal and external questions about existence. Endpoints each named these two philosophers. In an essay, one of them criticized the other's use of state descriptions and drew from that other thinker's major book to claim that our statements do not face the tribunal of a type of experience, not individually, but only as a corporate body.
Oh no.
This big.
This isn't something for the nerd to start with.
No, it could be for the Davos debate, but that they already did.
What do you got?
Who's in the Davos? Kassir?
Okay, it's nothing. It's Klein and Carnap.
Yeah.
The book Dear Carnap, Dear Van collects letters that Klein sent Carnap while the latter was working in this city along with other logical empiricist thinkers such as Otto Neurath.
area Vienna circled, so they might be at Vienna.
They might be. In two dogmas of empiricism, Klein takes Carnap to task for Carnap's reductionist project of translating the statements into a language about these things. J.L. Austin criticized H.A. Ayer's theory of these entities, which are immediate objects of perception.
Sense data?
Or sense data, yeah, because it's higher, so you wouldn't say phenomena.
Sense data?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's exactly what's up.
We got 21. Here's toss-up 17. After meeting this character, a man returns to her due to a supernatural incident in which he hears this woman calling, "Oh, Jenny, come back from 12 miles away." During a game in which she used a diamond ring to write on a window, this character gets a love interest to say that he doesn't love her for her supposed wealth. She courts that man after her linen draper husband escapes to France from debtor's prison. This character lies sick in bed for 5 weeks.
Just Paul Flanders? You said Jenny in the beginning.
Yeah,
That's her most famous
Okay,
love
I didn't
interest.
write this question, okay?
You sure?
Yeah, Jerry,
I
what
thought
the
you must. It must be you. No, it can't be, because I've heard this
Single
book.
question for this round. Not a one. Here is your bonus. Rachel Bowlby's book, Just Looking, discusses consumer culture in the works of these two authors and George Gissing, for 10 points each. Name these two oft-analogized authors. Scenes by One is Dead, in which a woman is enthralled by a Chicago department store, and in which a woman drowns out on a boat outing, are often compared to scenes from the other's novels, Aventure de Dame and Theresa Ken.
So one of them's Zola, and
Maybe Mopus somehow.
No.
I don't know.
It's probably not French, right?
Really? I don't know what's going on. Zola and Balzac.
No, Zola and Dreiser.
Yeah,
Oh,
no, they say Mary.
They're both, yes.
Dreiser and Zola are respectively the foremost American and French authors of this movement, a branch of realism that sought to portray human beings with scientific objectivity.
Naturalism.
Sure. Zola is the self-professed idol of the later American author Tom Wolfe, who describes Zola's visit to Holbein near the end of this essay that he intended as a literary manifesto for the new social novel.
What is the Zola manifesto called? What did you say?
That's fine.
No, I don't know.
Okay, it's Stalking the Billion for the Beast.
Oh, they want the wolf
Yeah.
one.
The
Okay,
wolf,
I still
yeah,
want to pull that.
Yeah, sorry.
Okay.
Yeah,
one
it's
of the
fine. Yeah.
Okay,
I can't listen any longer.
you got 10 points in that.
Yeah, fantastic.
Here is toss 18. Description acceptable.
Okay.
In The Bad and the Beautiful, a recording of the late George Morrison giving this speech plays in his daughter's apartment before Jonathan Shields breaks the record and draws a mustache on Morrison's portrait. In a lecture on this speech, Ian McKellen argues that the end of the short first line provides a place to pause and catch the audience's attention. Orson Welles' 1948 rendition of this speech plays over a stationary shot of dark swirling clouds. In a sequence from Alejandro Inarritu's Birdman, Reagan drunkenly walks down a dark street as a homeless man shouts this soliloquy.
It's like tomorrow, like after candle stage. Yeah.
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 That's
Like that. Yeah.
Yeah.
tomorrow is the.
Yeah. Oh, you said description acceptable. Yeah. Yeah.
Tomorrow.
That was tomorrow was in the middle.
Yeah. Cool.
Here's your bonus. During this debate, Anne Hutchinson claimed that she was able to speak from the spiritual power of the Holy Ghost to come with teach. Named this religious controversy in the Massachusetts Bay Colony that included a 1637 sermon delivered in Boston by John Wheelwright, which fast prior to his speech. Antinomian. Yeah. After the controversy, Anne Hutchinson and her followers moved to its present-day U.S. state, founded as a colony by Roger Williams 2 years earlier. Rhode Island. Yeah. The supporter of Hutchinson and Wheelwright was elected governor of Massachusetts Bay Colony until he was replaced by John Winthrop in a hotly contested 1637 election. He was executed after the Restoration when Charles II backtracked on his promise to offer clemency.
Yeah, is it like Endicott? That's a person?
Go ahead.
Who else exists around? I can't remember. Endicott?
It's the dude named Henry Bain.
Bain.
Oh, that's amazing.
That is a clue.
That is
no
funny.
controversy.
Here's 19. Homi K. Bhabha's essay, Domination, that's the nation capitalized, ascribes this status to the nation space where no ideology or cultural discourse can assert metaphysical or transcendental authority. The sociologist Arpad Sakoltsai, who paired this concept with experience in the book title, has defined modernity as existing in a paradoxically permanent form of this status. The ritual of Mukunda was used to illustrate this status in an examination of it by its major American theorizer. A feeling of connection created between people sharing this status is called communitas by an anthropologist who studied this status among the Ndembu people in the forest of symbols.
Like people who have undergone rites of passage.
That is, one moment. I can prompt you on that.
Okay. People like adolescents.
I cannot accept that.
Oh, man.
Among the endemic people in the forest of symbols, that anthropologist Victor Turner described this status that comes after separation and before reintegration with the phrase to extend between. Arnold van Gennep coined for 10 points what term for the second of three stages of a rite of passage, which is derived from the Latin for threshold.
Liminal.
Yeah.
Yeah. Because I read Marcus Turner clues and I was
Yeah, I
confused.
couldn't
It's just
figure out which
liminality.
state it was. Yeah, yeah.
Makes sense.
I'm sorry, Dave. So here's your bonus. The integral of these quantities over a closed loop is in general non-zero. For 10 points each, mainly path-dependent quantities from thermodynamics, exemplified by infinitesimal changes in heat and work.
We got perturbations.
These are called inexact differentials. This British scientist showed that small changes of heat and work are equivalent by using a fallen weight to turn a paddle wheel and heat a bath of water, thus laying the foundation for the first law of thermodynamics. The calorie is equal to 4.184 of this upon this unit of energy. Joule, yeah. Prior to Joule's work, this other scientist provided a challenge to the caloric theory by observing the heat generated from friction in the boring of cannons. What?
That's it. Don't your cannon boring clues?
Bonus part I would have chosen, but you got anything?
Pan-LaVey.
It's Benjamin Thompson, Count Rumford.
Awesome.
That's amazing.
You know that?
Here's the last topic.
No?
Yeah, you got what?
10.
Yeah.
Here's the last topic. Trading this commodity made the family fortune of George Bogle, who in the late 1700s became the first British envoy to Tibet. An important primary source for a shift in the trade of this commodity is the letters of Neil Jameson, a partner in one of John Glassford's firms. In 1870, the demand for this commodity skyrocketed with the invention of an automated industrial process by James Bonsack, which enabled the fast production of a product whose use after the War of 1812 spread throughout Europe from Andalusia. Producers of this crop, such as Robert King Carter, typically sold it in England on consignment, as the system gradually supplanted by sale to store firms run by Glasgow boards. Large barrels called hogsheads were used to ship.
What? Alcohol, specifically wine?
That is not correct.
What? That's what I'm asking.
Were used to ship for 10 points what cash crop that was grown primarily in the Tidewater region of the Chesapeake that was introduced to the American colonies by John Ball.
Tibet.
That's right.
Exactly.
Husbands are saying large barrel.
Yeah, I'm out for that. Yeah.
I mean, maybe originally it meant.
No, it's fine.
I don't know. Here's the thing.
Hard toss-up on.
This term was coined by Jean V. Glass, who employed this technique with Mary V. Smith and Thomas Miller in the book Benefits of Psychotherapy. Give this term describing statistical techniques that aggregate the results of multiple scientific studies. This technique is often used for systematic reviews of literature. Meta-analysis often uses these plots, in quotes, for some reason, which graph the results of many studies to indicate whether publication bias exists. They typically show precision on the y-axis and study results on the x-axis, and ideally show results spread evenly over a triangular area. Yeah.
Johnson plot.
They're called funnel plots. John Ioannidis leads the Meta Research Innovation Center at this West Coast University, where Walter Mischel carried out his marshmallow experiment and delayed gratification and filled some bar. Yeah. You got 20 points. That's the game.
The final score is 375 Chicago A, 165 Berkeley B.
That's what I have.
Sure. Most of those clues were on plasmon resonance, right?
They were like different types of resonance. Like there was one on one of them was on certain plasma.